Didn't you know, Rabbi? How dare you? It's Super Bowl Sunday. Okay. No one interferes with Super Bowl
I'm
Sunday.
on the East Coast. Are you 6 hours ahead?
We're from the East Coast. We're 7 hours ahead.
7 hours.
Okay.
Okay. Oops.
All right, let's start.
If
Let's
you
start.
watch the game, that could be a long day.
I'll pass. Okay, here we are. Thank God, Baruch Hashem. We are now recording. We're on. I believe I clicked everything on. So we're going forward in the explanation into our thoughts, exploration into our thoughts, explanation into understanding our thoughts and how our thoughts manifest things. As once again, we have to just backtrack and understand it's not the thought, it's the thought with residence. It's the thought with conviction. It's a thought that has an emotional charge to it. The belief, the vibration that we create, that creates this angel that attracts us, brings us to the destiny of whatever it is that we thought. So last week we were exploring the first thought of the day. The Baal Shem Tov says that the first thought of the day sets the pace for the rest of the day. So when you understand that, and it's not just simply a passing thought, because most people, when they say Modeh Ani, I don't even know if they remember they said it. If you said it, Modeh Ani lefanecha. We give thanks to you, God, who brought back our soul. Amazing. And so the issue is, though, besides that thought, of course, it's gratitude and that Hashem has returned your soul. And not only returned your soul, he returned it with a loving attitude. I mean, these are really amazing thoughts, and definitely makes sense why the sages said this is the first thing you got to say in the morning. Gratitude, of course. Gratitude of how, what was God's attitude when he returned your soul back into your body? He didn't say, go and take your lousy, stinking soul. What you did yesterday needs 5 Chinese laundries to get it clean. He didn't do it with an attitude, he did it with love. And then the last words, of course, Rabba emunasecha, great is your faith. God has faith in us. He believes in us. Very important. And we should also believe in others. Moshe Rabbeinu, the signs of Moses when he was at the burning bush with putting his hand in the cloak and coming out being leprous, he was told, why is that happening? Is because you said the Jewish people are not going to believe you. You don't do that. You don't have that attitude. So the idea of our first thoughts in the day sets the pace for the rest of the day. And we went a little bit more in terms of thinking about it the night before, because it's great because you focus on it, because I can understand that, you'll wake up and maybe you'll think of, oh my gosh, the things I have to do today. Oh my gosh, I have this appointment with this person. I so much don't want it. Oh, I got to do this. Oh, it's another day. Right. And believe me, I've definitely had mornings like that. I've had the past 7 months. I'm telling you, there were periods where the best part of the day was when I was sleeping, because when I was up, it was tremendous chaos. So needless to say, you have to be proactive. And the way to be proactive with what you will think the next day, and you get to create your own. You don't have to go by me. Like I wrote down here on page 13, I can hardly wait to see the beautiful blessings that Hashem will bring into my life today. Or I can hardly wait to experience such cosmic ideas, when I'm learning or studying or encountering people. You can use that. And there are many others. I mean, you can take your pick. I was thinking about, when I was going over this, well, it says in the Tanya, I think it was chapter 41 in Tanya, maybe 42, that it says, he writes, a person has to see himself every day as if he went out of Egypt. Now, we say in the Haggadah that everyone has to say as if they went out of Egypt. That was like, okay, I was a slave and went out of Egypt at some point in my life. No. He went more specific. You have to wake up, I'm adding those words, with the attitude as if God has taken you out of all of your restrictions. All barriers are removed. You're completely free to completely connect. There's no barriers. There's no obstacles. You are so unlimited. Wake up like that. Oh, wow. Okay, every day. The thing is, when you get familiar with things, it loses its flavor, and we're not supposed to do that because it has to be with an energy. It has to be with a conviction. So, like what I said. So, I don't know if this is definitely a review because you have to do it. You have to understand that you have to make sure that if your habit can take you to a certain place of negative thoughts, and you have to take yourself to positive. That's the beginning of the day. Then there's the beginning of the week. As Yehudim, as Jews, we have the ritual when Shabbos goes out of Havdalah. We make this Havdalah service, as Havdalah means division. We're going to divide between the Sabbath to the days of the week. Also, when Shabbos comes in, we use a cup of wine. We always use a cup of wine when we want to focus and make a distinction. Okay, interesting how wine, Kabbalistically, it has the powers of Gevura. It's like powers of strength. It's the red color. Colors mean a lot of things in the Kabbalah, because different guiding elements, guiding forces within them, and energies. So in any case, probably most of you are familiar with the ritual that we do every Saturday night of Havdalah, distinguishing. We have a cup of wine, right? We say certain verses that God is with me. We're going to be happy, right? And if you ever go to a Sephardic Havdalah, it's way higher. They really get into it. They embellish a lot of statements, I think it's like they say, Ana Hashem Oshiana, like Hashem save us. And then everybody repeats, Ana Hashem Oshiana, please God save us, right? So they do a lot of additional things because it's the beginning of the week. And so we have the wine to focus that we're entering into another zone. We have spice, and you have the candle. Those are basically the three things that we use for Havdalah. So the first thing we do is we say a Borei Pri Hagafen. Now, what I do, and I definitely got into that custom, and I see a lot of other Sephardic rabbis do it. I saw it originally. The first time I saw it was Rabbi Yisrael Goldstein, who was the oldest, Rabbi Goldstein, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, his oldest son. All the yeshiva was there, and he was making Havdalah. And as soon as he said, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam Borei Pri Hagafen, he just burst out into laughing. First time I heard it. No one else laughed, because we were going, what happened? Okay. First experience. Go inside me. I like that. And so the first thing that I do, and I found a source for it, took me a while, because I was asking the Sephardic rabbis, where's the source for it, right? So I say here, in Keser Shem Tov, and also Tamei HaMinhagim, we laughed, I say in the footnote there, number 14, we laughed to create a good sign and a blessing. The beginning of a thing sets the pace for the whole thing. The reason why we laugh is because we're in the beginning of the week. The week should be full of joy. So sometimes maybe you laugh, you're making a fake laugh, and your buddy, at least maybe they'll have a real laugh. So at least someone's going to have some joy. It doesn't have to be you, right? So, but maybe he'll be laughing and you're laughing and everybody will laugh. In any case, it is a custom to do that. And if you haven't been doing it already or haven't seen it, then if you're in Houston, you go to Rabbi Yacobian or Rabbi Masri. I think they both do it. All right. In any case, this was an interesting thing that I found from Rabbi Chaim Palagi. It says to laugh while looking at the fingernails with the candle. I have to go and look in that. I have not seen that source. Somebody brought me that source. That's a Nefesh Chaim, not Nefesh HaChaim. That's why Chaim Volozhin. This is a different sefer. And I don't think I even got, but I can understand that, and we can make a svara. We could definitely create an idea behind that. But the idea here is beginning of the week is going to set the pace for the whole week. So we have the candle as being like the gate, because we're now transitioning. And we say the wine, we laugh on the wine, and then you smell the spice. And we smell the spice because we know that on Shabbos we get an extra soul. And when Shabbos goes out, the soul leaves, it departs. Vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, meaning like it's gone. And therefore the person becomes deflated and sad and depressed. There's something not right inside. And so the Rambam says when a person is depressed or sad, he should smell things because it brings up the person's energy. So therefore, we pass the spice to bring a person's energy. Not that I like cloves. Maybe there'd be something a little bit more powerful, but it works. It works. That's what the spice is about, why we smell it. But the real interesting thing is when we say the blessing of Borei Moreh Ha'esh on the light of the fire, we make a blessing. And there's so much Kabbalistic stuff that goes into it. I'm not going to get into too many details. But we're supposed to look at, a lot of people don't know what to do when they do this. I'm sorry. You're supposed to look, let's see, even straight law, Jewish law. You're supposed to see the distinction between your fingernails and your skin. You don't need to do two hands. You don't need, and you shouldn't see your palms, according to the Ari. You should really cover your palms with your, really, I think it's just the right hand, according to the Ari. The right hand, you cover your thumb inside your palm and four fingers around, and then you will look at the candle, the reflection of all, try to get all four fingers in the reflection. But the basic line is you're supposed to see a distinction between the skin of the fingernails and the skin. Basically, in terms of the simple understanding is you have to make use of the light, and that's the use of the light, to see a distinction between this and this. Of course, Kabbalistically, it goes way higher, because really we know that Adam Arishon, before the sin of the Garden of Eden, they say that his skin was light, or xanos or, garments of light, pure light. And then after he sinned, so it says God made him skins of ore with an ayin. See, ore sounds the same, but there's two different ways to spell it with two different meanings. Or Aleph Vav Resh is light, and or with an ayin is ayin Vav Resh, skin. So before it was light, and then after it was skin, which is basically the skin that we have now today. But the Adam Arishon's original skin, they say, is the fingernail. Okay, in other words, it's hard to say the fingernails. It's kind of hard, you know. I don't know if I would like to be my whole body in. I don't know how that would work. I don't want to go there, but the way I understand it is the radiance of the reflection of the candle on your fingernails, that light. It was light. Okay, this actually does offer protection, not just against hammers, not that that works either, but it's spiritual protection, because really, according to the Kabbalah, light comes through our systems just like it does in the cosmos, and it comes through our arms, and it goes out of our fingertips and actually goes into the top of our thighs and down. In other words, like, you know, the Chinese have meridians. In Kabbalah, we have the way that the light flows through. So the light flows through, and that's why we have the nails. The nails actually are protection against the external influences, that they can't come and grasp onto that light. The simple understanding is, but they also do say that there's a certain point where if you grow the nails too long, then the outer external forces will grab on, the klipot will grab onto those nails, and then they'll be able to go and crawl right up into your brain and influence the person. Okay, so are you scared yet? This means yes, this means no. Okay, fine. The idea here is when we look at the reflection of the candle and we're looking at the two different skins, we're reflecting on the idea, because once again, the ideas that you think in the beginning of a week set the pace. But it says, this was Adam Arishon before, and this is us. In other words, it's to remind us of the radiance, the potential radiance that we can all have. So if I would translate it into the creating angels type of words, I would say, this week I shine. Okay, like this week, let's shine. Let's shine greater. We'll go from there and just one step greater to shining, a reflective light, a brilliant reflective light, to also remind all of humanity, this is where all of us have to go. Kind of a reminder. As you're about to go into the 6 days of the week, you need these elements of focus. That Adam Mauritian's skin was this, and now our skin is this, and we have to get back to this, and what I wrote there, and beyond. It's not just about getting back to the garden, back to the garden. You know that song? I forgot who made that. In any case, to shoot beyond that, but that's the first place we have to go. So that's the beginning of the week. Interesting idea, huh? Thinks the thoughts that you think. Problem is most people, but thank God we're putting it now out there that people now will know this is much deeper. There's another Zohar that you should really see, like the angels being reflected through the reflection, like the four angels, Michael, Gabriel, Uriel, Raphael, being reflected. Okay, so maybe you'll see their names written there. I think my father-in-law said. I haven't seen it, but I keep looking. Okay, so that's the beginning of the week, beginning of the year. Beginning of the year, everybody knows Rosh Hashanah, Yom HaDin, it's Judgment Day. We're all terrified. Actually, we're not terrified. We wear nice clothes. We eat nice foods because bottom line, we're very confident in our relationship with God. That it is, he's judging all of humanity, all of creation on this day. He's looking into the books. He's seeing what's good, what's bad, what's wasteful, okay, what's corrupt, what's fraudulent, right? And then but he evaluates each person individually. Like, how you been this year? What's been going on? We are very confident, okay? We are very confident how God is going to treat us. By the way, we are on page 36 for those who do need to know, okay? Okay, so we're really, really very confident that God, with whatever the judgment, he's going to do it with compassion. And then to further with all of our dressing and our attitude, and we wishing everybody a good year. Judgment Day, you should be sitting with black clothes on the floor, pounding your chest. It's Judgment Day. But we're very confident. And also, of course, we come home as we know that the custom is to dip the apple in the honey. And we say, Lashana Tova Matuka, should be a good and sweet year. And there's many more simonim. If you go to the other houses, like for us, it was every single thing possible in our yeshiva. You know, we did the green beans, you did the carrots, you did the dates, you did the pomegranates, you did the fish, you did the head of the fish. You know, there were a lot of simonim, and each one of those simonim are like, I think they called it like an omenistic. I think even in the art scroll called it like an omen thing. I forgot the name. In any case, the idea, it's kind of weird that they would call it that, an omen, right? But here you are coming into Rosh Hashanah with an attitude that Hashem is going to mamish bestow upon you unbelievable things. You must have that attitude. You must have that belief. You must accept that the Ein Sof is all there is, and he's guiding all of our lives personally in the most perfect way possible. No question about it. And you dip the apple in the honey, and you got to feel that good year. A lot of times I go into the future and I say, I tell people in their minds to vision themselves that they're actually in the end of they're actually in the Rosh Hashanah of next year, looking back at the year, looking back saying, wow, what a sweet year. You could do that with a day as well. Imagine now you wake up in the beginning of the day and you say, and you picture yourself at the end of the day, right? And looking back at the day that didn't really happen yet, and you go, that was the best day ever, okay? Right? So you can picture that, and you'll probably put a smile on your face if you do that in the morning. Okay. So the beginning of the thoughts that you do in the year is going to set the pace for the rest of the year. Of course, you can have this confidence. Of course, you can have this emunah. You're going to be blessed with a sweet year. Like the carrot is decrees, because the word is gezer. Gezer is also the, so we say God should decree, as we eat the carrot, God should decree good decrees upon us, and we eat the carrot. And they eat the green beans. What all of the things that go on during these things, of course, are to go ahead and build within us the confident attitude, the energy. These are the angels. This is the energy, the resonance that we are creating, the tone, okay, the feeling tone that we create. So here I just wrote this down. Starting off right away, the custom every Jewish home to dip the apple in the honey, right? So I said, just as the ancient Jewish farmer would dedicate his first fruits to Hashem, so the Jewish custom to start off the new year only with positive thought, foundation for the rest of the year. Boom. Now, this next part, I wasn't going to call it the beginning of life, but it fit. So I did it. But really, it's one of the main sources that I found in the Zohar for how our thoughts create our reality. Because really, the line in the Zohar says, all things go after the thought. And then it went and told the story of Jacob. I'm going to paraphrase the story of Jacob. As we know that our forefather Jacob had to leave home in Israel, and he had to go to his uncle Lavan. And his uncle Lavan, trickster as he was, finally, hey, Jacob says, I'll work for Rachel. I'm madly in love with her. I want to marry her, right? So 7 years I will work. And it seemed like a day, right? So anyways, he works for Rachel for 7 years. And then what happens, of course, Lavan switches, as we know. And of course, they wedding celebrations, they retire into the room and, of course, have relations. And the interesting thing is Yaakov Avinu was always thinking it's Rachel, right? But really, it was really Leah. So, of course, he finds out the next morning he got, that Lavan pulled a switch on him. And, of course, he marries Rachel at the end. But that night, Reuven, the firstborn son of Yaakov, was conceived. So here I'm on the second paragraph in 37. This thinking, as subtle and unintended as it was, in other words, Yaakov thinking it's Rachel, but it's really Leah, caused a later switch. The offspring of that act was Reuven, the firstborn of Yaakov. Later, after Rachel died, what happened? Yaakov wanted his bed, that was usually in the tent of Rachel, to be moved to the tent of Bilhah. Bilhah, right? Hey, excuse me. Let's backtrack the story here. As we know that Yaakov, first he married, it was Leah, then it was Rachel, and then now Leah and Rachel had these handmaids, and they stopped giving birth, or Rachel wasn't giving birth, so they wanted to build the tribes through Yaakov, so they did the handmaid switch. We don't say the switch has never been done. They did the handmaids. They may marry the handmaids, right? Started kids from them. So, but should be really, Rachel was his love. Okay, that's his soulmate. Leah's number 2. Happened. Here goes Yaakov, and he wants the bed moved to number 3, right? To Bilhah. And Reuven hears this. Of course, maybe he's drinking, spits out and goes, what? And he runs over and he goes into the tent of Bilhah, the handmaid of Rachel, who passed away. And he moves the bed over to his mom's tent, Leah, right? An impetuous act. But here we see, just to give the idea of what's being spoken about here, is the switch in Yaakov's head, had a manifestation many years later with Reuven, that he switched. The switch makes a switch. And that's where the root This is the source that the Zohar says all things go after the thought. Okay, it's very subtle. I understand that. And don't get here. I think I wrote that in the last paragraph. Well, no. We have to go to the second to last. The switch in the mind of Yaakov precipitated the switch with the bed Reuven moved. Right? In the subtlest ways, Yaakov's thoughts set in motion a situation that was going to be manifest later. Right? All things go after the thought. It's very dramatic and even frightening. It almost doesn't seem fair that thoughts should be so important. Oh, come on. The level of thinking of our forefather Yaakov was much different from and much higher than ours. We do have to understand that, okay? Because we say here, but we say the deeds of the fathers, nevertheless, even though Yaakov Avinu was a super tzaddik, and of course, they're judged on a chuta sarah, which means on a hair's breadth. When the tzaddik missteps or miscalculates, even if it's on accident, it wasn't his fault. Wasn't his fault. He did every single thing he possibly could to try to, combat Lavan's tricky ways. So, but still, a switch in thought on his level. So we say the deeds of the fathers are a sign to the children. That's a known big phrase in Torah. Masa avos siman labanim. What the fathers did, it kind of set the pace for the children, all the generations after. Meaning that the forefathers are compared to the root and the children are compared to the branches. Whatever happens in the root happens in the branches. The slightest deviations have huge ramifications. Nonetheless, what we must impress upon ourselves is that our thoughts are more powerful than realize. If you just come home with that, just got to really dig that in and really put it in every single fiber of our being to integrate it, that thoughts are very important. Just if you get that, okay? They have meaning, as we're going to see, okay? And we must begin to be aware and harness them, okay? But here, like I said, right on, believe it or not, the universe is user-friendly, and the Creator is very, very patient. Hashem is so patient with us. If we would only be aware of it. We would only be aware of it, and then it'd be so easy to be patient with others, right? But Hashem, he's so patient with us. So patient. So a person should have faith and know that everything that happens is for the absolute best, even if you didn't think the right thought, it's whatever it is. Even if we are filled with polluted and confusing thoughts, right? Hashem loves us. Everything is meant to be. Everywhere we are in terms of our journey is where we're meant to be. So it's all coming from Hashem, and it's all for the absolute best. But we can start to be aware of our thoughts. So what the Zohar wants to illustrate to us is that even though Yaakov had a thought of a different direction, unintentionally, it manifests somewhere. Okay? Big. So now, in the other section, I just want to string off a lot of sources. So they didn't want to put that in because I just wanted to bring sources because you understand it gives us a greater integration in terms of the importance of our thoughts. So I brought here from Rabbi Nachman. It's an unbelievable teaching, incredible teaching, Rabbi Nachman. So he talks about thought and he says, no, that thought has very, very great strength. Even if a person was to strengthen his thoughts that he will have money, then for sure he will get it. These are not my words. It's Rabbi Nachman. And this is how it is with everything. I went to the Shnava Rebbe. At that time, I don't know, maybe it was 20-something years ago. I went for a friend of mine and went for myself. And, he only starts seeing people at midnight. And they call you to come, you got to be there in 10 minutes. Like the shamish, the helper he will call your number and you have to be close by. You have to be able to get there real quick. And I got again, 2:30, I think. And I asked him the question as I was walking. I was walking out of the room with him. That is it true that if I want $1 million, I'll get $1 million? Let's just cut to the chase. And he said, he says, but if you need $1 million, then you'll get it. The difference between wanting and if you really need it. In other words, if you believe that you need this, then you'll get it. It's kind of powerful, isn't it? This is only provided, though, there was one proviso, however, that his thoughts will nullify all his feelings, which means his feelings of doubt or fear, for example. In other words, you can have the thought of I want X, but if your guts ain't saying it, the gut's got to jive with it. Totally. Okay. So your thought has to be able to mold the feeling, overcome anything, eradicate any doubt or any fear or any obstacle from whatsoever. So then, then boom, you'll be very focused right there. But if a person has any bit, no, it's not going to work. But the thoughts are very powerful. So this is how he tells us here. Let's just cut to the chase. Thought is so powerful that it is possible for one to literally cause his own death with a thought. Now, I looked at the footnote 17. That's a pretty cool footnote. One must keep in mind the idea that placebos work for some people, right? As well as the evidence from hypnosis, where people who were told while they were under hypnosis, a hypnotic spell, that something scalding had just touched their skin. And then actually that skin, even though it was nothing, the guy took a pencil and touched his skin and said that was just a burning, brand. So the guy, my father did this. My father used to hypnotize people. And he says he did it, and the guy, mama, started to form blisters on his hand. He saw it. My father saw it. So, it can be very deep, the mind. And if I could lead you through a quick meditation I got right now, you can imagine you're seeing this lemon and you're observing the lemon, and then you cut the lemon, and then your mouth is already watering, and you put the lemon to your mouth. And most people who follow it, even a little bit, their mouth starts to water, but there's no lemon. Okay. So there's a story of a person who willed himself to freeze to death when being locked overnight in a commercial freezer. Unbeknownst to him, the freezer was broken. That's a true story. Okay, so let's go back here to the text above, right? I'm on page 38. So thought is so powerful that it is possible for one to literally cause his own death with a thought. Twice a day, we proclaim that God is one, right? With the word Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Shem Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. The essential meditation at that time really is to be in such a state of love of God that one is willing to give up his life. Like the imagery would be, they put you in front of an idol and they say, you bow down to this idol or we kill you, and you're Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Shem Echad, and your soul is just willing to go out of your body. Okay. So it is possible, this is Rabbi Nachman, it is possible to strengthen and make the thought so powerful that at the time that the person does this and accepts in his thoughts that he's willing to die for Kiddush Hashem, sanctification for the name of God, he literally feels the pain of death. So this is what Rabbi Akiva said. Now, on the flip side of it, kind of a flip side, here we're supposed to say the Shema, and Rabbi Nachman is saying, don't go too far. You got to hold yourself back a little bit because it could be dangerous if you get into it too much. Cool. Okay. But here's Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva says these words, all my life I was troubled concerning this verse, to love Hashem with all your soul. I would ask myself, when will this mitzvah come to my hands that I could give it? And he yearned, and he yearned, and he yearned. His mind was creating. And now what happened? Yes, at the end, that's how he died. They raked his skin with iron combs, raked his flesh with iron combs. But while they were doing it, some people say that he wasn't experiencing any pain. He was on a higher level of delight because he's finally fulfilling this mitzvah, and he was just all soul at the time. And this was just removing a coat. So here he was saying when the students were seeing how he was being brutally murdered, slow motion, he was saying, I've been dreaming about this all my life. How can I now I can finally doing it. So excited. This means that at the time of the recital of the Shema, Rabbi Akiva accepted upon himself the 4 death penalties. Of course, that's what Chazal, our rabbis, say. So when a person strengthens his thoughts in giving up his life, he is actually able to die from the pain of that very death that he was contemplating. This is pretty extreme, isn't it? I thought we were talking about getting money, Rabbi. Why? This is really depressing. It's pretty upsetting. I don't want to read this. Okay, this is because there's no difference between the actual death and the pain felt from the death in his mind. As they say in the Matrix, if you die in your mind, you have no, whatever. I forgot the rest of it. Something about that. Therefore, a person must hold himself back and distance himself in order to remain where he is at the time that he feels so close to passing on. Don't go too far because his soul could permanently leave his body. Right? This is so that he does not die before his time. God forbid. Big time. Okay. So anyways, you could look at the whole section in the Likutei Maharan. Anyways, that's one idea. So you see, like an idea, well, Rabbi Nachman is saying, it's powerful, the mind. So in the time of Shema, okay, you can imagine it, but don't go too far. Conversation number 8, these are from Sichot Aran, another sefer, which was a conversations with Rabbi Nassan, his main student, and Rabbi Nachman. As there were conversations, a whole book on it, a fantastic book, really amazing. Definitely recommend it. Rabbi Kaplan does a great translation. When studying subjects dealing with tragedy, this was amazing when I read this. When studying subjects dealing with tragedy, like the laws of mourning, don't delve into them too deeply, for our thoughts have great power. Therefore, these subjects should be covered as rapidly as possible. In other words, don't stick in it. Don't do in Hilchas Avelis. Avelis means mourning, or the Tisha B'Av stuff. Don't do Amkus in it, right? Weiter. Let it move through. Let it pass through. Because something, if you stick in it and you delve into it, it's dangerous. It's pasha dangerous. Conversation 46. Guard your thoughts carefully, for thought can literally create a living thing. I wonder what that living thing is. What did I write down here? Such as angels. Okay. Thoughts create. Thoughts matter. Okay. You have to kind of do the switch in our brains and our whole being. Thoughts matter. Okay. Guard your thoughts carefully, for thought can literally create a living thing. The higher the faculty, the farther it can reach. I kind of spoke about this a little earlier, but here are his words. You can kick something with your foot, but throw it higher with your hand. We had a problem with this. If you got an answer, I'd like to hear it. These were his words. They're not my words, because I know people who can kick a lot farther than they can throw. So, unless everybody in Europe just was completely mutated at kicking, that would be, they were all remedial kicking. Remedial kickers or special ed kickers. The kicking was just not their thing. Nobody could kick. That would be my only answer for now. If you have a better one, please send it in. Okay. So in any case, going back here, sorry, I'm blocking you guys. All right. That's better. All right. So the higher the faculty, the farther it can reach. You can kick something with your foot, but throw it higher with your hand. You get the drift. You can reach still farther with your voice, right? Calling to a person very far away. That reaches something, right? Hearing reaches yet farther. You can hear an airplane in the sky far away. That's an amazing sense that your ears can hear it, right? You can hear sounds like gunfire from a great distance. Your sight reaches even farther. We look at the stars. Amazing. The higher the faculty, the farther it can reach. Highest of them all is the mind, which can penetrate the loftiest heights. Therefore, you must safeguard your mind very well. Amazing. Okay? Because you could, like I said before, it's beyond time and space, your mind. Not limited at all. You can imagine yourself in Waikiki Beach 1 second, and a second later you're at Har Sinai, and a second later you're at home sitting on your couch. And you could be anywhere, right? Boom, boom, boom. And time-wise, you could be in boom. No limitations. The mind is really so unlimited that just to look at it like that now, kind of like you got to get a sense of, wow, there's a lot of unlimitation inside of me, isn't there? Conversation 62. Human thought has tremendous potential and can bring about many things, even inflation. I really had an argument with the editor over this one. Keep firing back at me. You have to read the footnote here, because the guy was saying, what? Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan brings a footnote of another passage in Sichos Aran. This is Rabbi Kaplan bringing a footnote, which spoke of a year when there was serious inflation of prices. When there was a good wheat crop that summer, right? When there was a good wheat crop that summer, people thought that prices would go down. But the Rebbe said that prices would not go down and that the inflation would last for 2 years. The Rebbe's prediction came true, and the inflation lasted throughout the second year. When the 2 years ended, the prices finally went down. Okay, that is kind of like, I don't know how Kaplan brings that. It could give light to us here, because if a person is focused on inflation, even though that there's a great wheat crop, right? It was a great summer. There should be extra food. Yet it didn't happen. We don't know, but definitely the mind is beyond that, and he says it, okay? When a thought is intensely concentrated, it can exert profound influence. Every faculty of the mind, both conscious and unconscious, down to the innermost point, must be focused without distraction. When many people do this, their thoughts can actually force something to take place. Okay, so this is like the golden watch that I brought in the introduction by Rav Chaim Voloshin and his students, how they worked on whatever prayers or emunot, thoughts, ideas, concepts, and the golden watch came when the student asked, bring a golden watch, Rebbe. Okay. To accomplish this, the concentrated thought must spell out every step of the desired result in detail. Okay. Like we do with visualizations a lot of times, and people who lead people in visualizations, they'll go step by step how they're going to manifest things. However, a diffused, generalized thought is like an incomplete vessel. This is what he says. An incomplete vessel, kalim, here. I bring the footnote. It speaks about how vessels, whether wood or metal, can contract uncleanliness only when they are considered completed, but will not contract uncleanliness if they are incomplete. It's almost like, okay, maybe don't be complete and you won't get uncleanliness. No, you want the vessel to be complete and whole and holy. Okay, but here, just the idea here that, you want to create a vessel. When we mean create a vessel, we're talking about the ability to receive whatever the blessing is, whatever the shefa is, whatever it is. You have to be able to receive it. It can't be too bright. We can't enjoy the sun if it's too bright, right? And vice versa. Okay, so you have to be able, to focus on it. Okay, so diffuse a generalized thought is like an incomplete vessel, and we want a complete vessel. That's why you need a focused thought. Such an incomplete mental vessel can lead one to error. And this is what happened to Nevat, who saw fire emerging from his circumcision and thought that he would be king. Okay, so here I in the footnote. Okay, this is an error that he saw this vision, and he made an error, because obviously he was not a complete vessel, Nevat. There goes the bird, right? It was actually his son Yeravam who became king, because he thought he would become king. I don't know how, through fire coming out of his circumcision. But in other words, he thought it was going to be him, but it was his kids. So therefore, he felt that he could rebel against David. Of course, he made an error. You can also make use of this in your studies. You can focus on something so strongly that it becomes true. Take, for example, the Shulchan Aruch, the Code of Jewish Law. You can calculate that if you study 5 pages a day from the 4 sections of the Shulchan Aruch, and it's a lot of books, okay? You'll finish all 4 sections in a single year. I believe Rav Nassan did that. He's 5 pages a day, and he finished in a year. Picture in your mind exactly, this is what he wants to tell you. Picture in your mind exactly how you will go about this course of study. Concentrate so strongly that you are completely focused on this thought. If your desire is strong and your concentration intense enough, you will succeed. But like I use for this, and this, I would always think about this, that prayer always helps a person to concentrate. It always helps a person to focus. So that's why my Rosh Hashiva, you said, that prayer is the aerobics of the will. Okay. At that time, aerobics was popular. Now we'll say the Pilates of the will. No, was there something else? Rock climbing. No, whatever. Okay. So let's just recap just a little bit. That was chapter 2. So chapter 2 discussed the importance of our thoughts. Just to recap for a minute before we end. Okay. Just to go to the beginning here for a second. Right. So we discussed, this is WGG. Okay. We discussed how amazing things that our thoughts, right? Wherever your thoughts are, that's where you are. And the reason why we say wherever your thoughts are, that's where you are, is because who are you? You are not your body. You're not your body that has a soul in it. You're really a soul that happens to have a body as a garment. Your essence is your soul, right? Where do you come from? Let me hear it. Throne up glory. Okay. So the idea is that really wherever your thoughts are, that's where you are, because if your thoughts are somewhere else, that's where your soul is. That's where your essence is, because your thoughts are a garment for your soul. So if you work on your thoughts, you can actually have the access through that to your soul. Very much like the high priest on Yom Kippur, his clothes had an amazing effect on the entire world, on the entire generation. It atoned for all kinds of sins. And of course, we think about that our thoughts can go to many places. Our thoughts can be thoughts in time, space, or consciousness. Time, of course, are you thinking of the past or are you thinking of the future? You should be in the present. The present is the most amazing. But you also, Rabbi Nachman brings, I didn't want to get into it, the idea of keeping your mind also on the next world. As a matter of fact, you're really trying to get the next world into the present. So that's like time. And then you'll have space, of course. Where is your brain, right? When you're talking to a person, are you like really in the marketplace or the shopping mall? Okay, so really place in consciousness, where are you? And then there's always consciousness itself, which is the whole idea, a very, very deep concept that we discuss about being equal in form to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Just like God is only thinking of others, he does not know to receive. We, on the other hand, are created with this will to receive. It is inherent within us. We have to convert the will to receive. But nevertheless, converting that will to receive to be a mashpia, a giving, a bestowing. That means we receive only on the condition that we're bestowing, to convert that to be, bottom line, the more you are like God, the more you're attached to God. So that is in consciousness. That's why Elisha never saw a fly. They never saw a fly at Elisha's table. Then, of course, we spoke a little bit about, I'm just fast forwarding here, the beginnings of things. Okay, you have to set your thought the night before. What thought would you have? What kind of energy would you like to wake up with in the morning? And then, of course, that also is in a week. That's also in the year. And that's also in a lifetime. By Yaakov Avinu, the beginning of Reuven's life there was a switch that he thought he was with Rachel, but he was really with Leah. Okay, we will end the class here with that. Let me shut off everything. And then if anybody has any questions or comments, just one second.
I have a couple questions.